I forgot. Okay. So, Alhamdulillah, every month, as I said, like we host a different homeschooling mom from the community that has an expertise in some topic. So, like last month, for example, it was all about ADHD and executive function. And this month is going to be about healing as a mother from Ruba Qasem. She has a master's degree in mental health, clinical mental health counseling. Make sure I say that right. And she's a children's author. She wrote her first book a little bit over a year ago, and she's a homeschooler as well. She has two children, and I'm gonna let her give her own presentation. But so far, I just want to say that Ruba is a very, very special friend of mine. Um, I always learned a lot about healing from her. Every time I never knew anything about like how our upbringing could affect our parenting today and the way we behave, like even with other adults, with our other spouses, with our spouses and all that. Until I met her and she started pointing these things, I'm like, oh, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. So I'm very excited for this halaqa because she's going to introduce how healing starts. And for all of you who are new to this journey, will be definitely an eye opener. So if you have any questions throughout the halaqa, feel free to type them in a chat, and inshallah we'll be answering them at the end. Yalla, Ruba, go ahead. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I first want to make sure everyone hears me because
Yes.
last time I got distracted in the ADHD halaqa. How fitting. Can you hear me without my headphones are both not working, subhanAllah?
Yes?
Great. Okay, so I'm going to start first and pull up I'm going to share my screen, Maryam, okay?
Sure.
That'll be easier for me. And then I was just going to say one thing regarding the questions in the chat. Because it's a sensitive topic, I don't mind if you, on the bottom of the chat, instead of to everyone, where everyone sees your question, you could send it personally to me or to Maryam. And then that way, Maryam or I can read it and answer, inshallah. And if you don't know how to do that, we can direct you, but it should be on the chat too. And then you'll click and then you could choose Ruba Qasem or Maryam. I think you have it as GT.
LH, yeah.
LH, yes. Okay. So let me start by sharing my screen. And you just add, I'm not like Zoom savvy, you're going to add everyone manually throughout, right? If they join late. Yes. Okay. Also, my kids are still awake, so just a heads up.
We never mind kids.
Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. Bismillah. Okay. Let's see if this works. Hold on. Oh, just kidding. All right. Can everyone see my face? And this is important to me. Can everyone see my face and the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So welcome everyone. Like Maryam said, the topic today is healing as a mother. My name is Ruba Qasem, and I'll give you a little more intro. I am currently I don't know if you have anyone out of the US, but I've been born and raised in New Jersey, still here. We have a strong Muslim population, alhamdulillah, and we also have quite a few homeschoolers as well. My master's degree is in clinical mental health counseling. So if I were not homeschooling and home with my kids, I would be doing that work as a licensed associate counselor. But instead, I'm doing things like this and healing, which is very important. I'm homeschooling mom of two. I have a soon-to-be 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, alhamdulillah. And I self-published my book last March, The Coolest Career. As you can see, those are my children who are modeling in that picture. And funny story was Maryam was actually with me as I was submitting my final draft in Panera Bread. She's been very supportive of my journey and alhamdulillah for friendships where, you know, we push each other to be the best versions of ourselves. Here's my Instagram handle. That's my creative outlet for those of you. I know not everyone's active on social media, but if you are, you can follow me, Reading with Ruba. That's where I post different content regarding like motherhood, homeschooling, mental health, and my favorite topic, children's books.
Yes, I love all the recommendations of books about feelings, and I read and all of that, both in English and Arabic. I think you're the only one who does it. I mean, I get it only from you.
But in the US, I think sometimes the Arabic is not as popular.
Yeah,
For like
yeah.
content creators, you'll find them maybe like in other countries. But yeah, alhamdulillah, I love to focus on that. But tonight's halaqa is not about that, and it's not about kids specifically. It is focused on you, the mother. The way I work is I like to give information because I want to benefit you with the limited knowledge that I have, but I want to make sure you're awake and focused. So we will have reflections throughout the session. And then at the end, inshallah, I don't know how long this will go. We will have a Q&A session, and you can feel free, if that's okay, Mariam, they can join in the mic, right? They can ask the question live,
Yes, yes.
or they can type it in the chat because, like I said, it's a sensitive topic. Also, I actually don't see questions yet. Oh, here, there is actually a way. I just want to make sure that everyone sees it. Okay. Okay. You all see, do you guys see my chat? Because that would not be ideal.
No.
Okay, because then that's
No.
like confidentiality breach. All right, great. Okay, so let's get started. And then Mariam, feel free to like hop in when you need to.
Okay.
Great. So we know that motherhood changes us, right? So many changes, not just you know, emotional, physical, financial, social, a lot of changes. But how exactly does it change us emotionally, and what exactly does it do to us you know, once we become mothers and once our children, you know, grow and have different stages of development? So it usually opens the door to discover some unresolved issues, whether we are aware of them or not. But since you are in this chat, like this halaqa, it already shows me that you are willing to change and you're willing to acknowledge any of those issues that you have and grow. So that's a big step. Not everyone is willing to even, you know, enter this field of healing. Typically, we begin to notice that our upbringing, so our own childhood, our own kind of upbringing by our own parents or family members, is now starting to impact our parenting choices and styles. Like I said, you might not notice it right away, but usually if there's a pattern, a repeated pattern of something that's not really, I would say, typical behavior, that usually is impacted by our upbringing. I, as you know, from a professional point of view, I strongly believe in that. And different mental health professionals have like different beliefs or different kind of theories, but I'm a big like supporter of your childhood does impact your adulthood. So I will be, you know, using that kind of theory throughout this session. And that's exactly where we will lead into the main idea, which is the inner child. So here's the first thing you got to do, guys. I'm going to keep you on your toes. When you're ready, or if you're ready, because not everyone will be ready, you don't have to participate, but when you're ready, type or feel free to share what you believe the inner child means. And I just want to mention a trigger warning. This might bring up many emotions for some of you, but I want you to think of your inner child and share whatever you are comfortable with. And like I said, you can always type the chat to me so that I just share it anonymously. So I'm going to have my chat open since you can't see that. And then I will give you, I'm going to check the time. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to write whatever you feel. Okay. This here, people are writing. Let's see, let's start. The 7-year-old in us. What would she do in this certain situation? Okay. Childhood trauma, someone messaged. Inner child, yourself at a younger age. The younger part of me that wasn't fully accepted or loved unconditionally. These are very good answers. Abandon. Your core memories that shaped what you love. Very good. These are very great, all great answers. Free-spirited, naturally curious child. That's amazing, inshallah, if that's how you felt. People pleasing. Yep, even as children. I'll give you 2 more minutes because I'm getting really good answers and I don't want to stop. Restricted emotional expression. This is also very cultural. So I'm originally Arab, so that happens. I've heard Arab and Desi communities kind of not being able to express all emotions, and we'll talk about that at some point. Intuition, love, happiness, and freedom, and also imagine myself flying in the sky. That sounds very freeing.
Sounds very
Exactly. Silenced, unfortunately. So we have different, a whole range of different answers. And 1 more minute. Keep them coming, and then if they are, like, if I continue speaking, Mariam can also kind of share what people add in the chat for everyone, because I'm getting different ones. Some are direct messages, some are not. Okay, so like you can see, there are very, very different answers, and that's because everyone in this chat, unless, and even if you have a sibling, by the way, in the chat, like, you know, same mother, same father, same upbringing, you will probably most likely have a different answer anyways. You know, I have siblings, and everyone, even though, you know, we're in the same household, we have all different ways to express, you know, our upbringing, our childhood, and then also our parents, they change, you know, whether we're, you know, two siblings or 10, every child is parented differently to some extent. So thank you so much for sharing the first thing. And there's one more. Oh, there are 2 more. The inner child, yourself at a younger age. Yes. The younger part of me that wasn't accepted. Oh yeah, we read that. Okay. All right, let's keep going. So, alhamdulillah, some of us have shared a more positive inner child, grew up with a more positive upbringing, but for many of us, it was not necessarily the case. A lot of you mentioned, you know, kind of feeling abandoned or not loved unconditionally, silenced, restricted, a lot of more of the negative emotions, I would say. And the first step is awareness. And I want to congratulate all of you. You're already there by being aware of that. Not everyone is, and not everyone wants to be aware of it. But in order to be aware, you have to acknowledge that your inner child was missing key elements. And that, not just that, you have to know as a mother now, because we're all mothers, most of us, I believe, this is directly impacting your role as a mother, whether you see or not. And even those who experience positive memories, inshallah, that will help you as a role, help your role as a mother. But no one had a perfect childhood. There is going to be something in your upbringing that will impact your parenting style or parenting ways, whatever it is, and there's always room for improvement. Yeah. Is this a good pace? Should I slow down or?
No, that's perfect for me. Okay. We can have.
This is a lot slower. That's why, Mariam, you're used
I'm used to
you. You're used to the fast pace. So for those of you not on the East Coast, we're very quick. So I'm slowing down.
You can let us know in the chat.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone has an issue, you'll just let me know. But that is a first step, and awareness is huge. And I'm not saying, you know, it's not enough, but I am. So it's great, and I commend you. And if you're only there, beautiful. But I'm here to help you heal as a mother, so I can't just tell you to stop there. The second step is to heal yourself. And even though it's the hardest step, it's the most important one. And I'm here to tell you, if you want to change your ways, if you want to be a better mother, you have to work on this component, especially those of you who answered things like abandonment and silencing and restriction, all of those things, they will creep up into your parenting, whether, you know, it starts with an infancy and then toddlers, and then the stronger your child's personality is, for example, or the more able they are to articulate emotions that you're not, you know, accustomed to expressing growing up, the more you will be triggered, and the more, you know, this is, of course, going to impact your role as a mother.
Because as soon as you're gonna feel challenged, you're gonna go do the same thing you felt. Like if you felt restricted, you're gonna like discipline your child with restriction. If you've felt silence, then you'll try to silence your child just to control the chaos because you're feeling challenged with their behavior.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's subconscious. Sometimes your body physically reacts in a way and you don't know why. And it's somewhere in the past, someone, and usually it's your primary, caretaker, someone didn't approve of the way you do things, or silenced you, or restricted you, or shamed you. And then it's just coming up and you're like, why am I so bothered by this thing? It's not a big deal. Then that's why I said the second step is to work on the healing. All right, so I want to make sure you're awake. I know it's only been 20 minutes, but still, this is the part where I would get distracted with my own ADHD. So I'm going to lighten it up a little bit, just a little, and make sure you're still with me. And I want you to type something in the chat. Your favorite snack, my kids are going to hear me, your favorite snack after your kids go to bed. Let's hear it. And it could be directed to everyone or to me. No judgment here. Oh, look at the ice cream. See, already. You guys are awake. Pickle ice cream. Tim Tams. I have no idea what those are. You have to tell me. Chips, dark chocolate bar, salad. Well, that's a healthy one. Dates, chips, candy, Chips Ahoy. I have some. Cup of tea and dry fruits.
Fancy.
Australian chocolate bar. Are you from Australia? Like living in Australia? That'd be cool. But that sounds really yummy. Chips. I know everything's like either like the crunchy, salty, or the sweet. Nope, you never lived there. Okay. Mariam, what's your favorite?
I already said it, baked cookies.
Oh, do you bake them after they sleep, or do you eat the baked goods?
No, I ordered them baked. Like not Chips Ahoy. Chips Ahoy doesn't cut it anymore.
Yeah, I'm sorry guys. Chips Ahoy. Mariam and I have had like chip cookie phases back in before. So Mariam, actually, if you guys didn't know this, for those of you who do follow her, she is based in Dallas now, but she moved last summer, so she was here before, and then she left me. But it's okay, we're reconnecting.
Yeah, no, we're trying. Everybody is in Dallas now, so we're trying to bring her, and she's like, "Born and raised in New Jersey." So what?
Everything I hide from them, that's a good one. Real food, because I sometimes don't have time to eat and feed my pussy baby. Oh yeah, that's. Sorry, I know that's survival mode, yeah.
Ikhlas wants to make a batch for me. Thank you.
Plus, you can mail them to me or come visit. Was really considering baking cookies. Do not leave the session to bake cookies, guys. Nuts. I'm telling you, it's either the chips or it's either the salty or the sweet. I'll tell you, good. All right, great. You can keep messaging your favorite snacks. Make me hungry. I like to take out my all-day frustration. Yep. I'm telling you, it's the crunching.
Yeah.
Mine used to be Reese's Take 5. Remember that? Now I don't know. I don't have the energy at night. I'm just like tired. I'm like mindlessly scrolling. All right. So back to some serious talk, right? Because it's uncomfortable, but we have to hear it. Someone has to say it. It's going to be me, inshallah, so that I can help you when you walk out, not just, getting ideas for things to munch on, but also, growing together and healing. So just a few things I want to say, and there are a lot of points here, but this is for my visual learners, by the way. There's no one size fits all. It's not something where I give you like a recipe, 3 cups of this, 2 cups of this, leave this chilled for 30 minutes, take it out, put it in the oven. Everyone has a different way to heal, a different timeline, different intensity. Like you showed me in your answers, everyone has a different, had a different upbringing. Their inner child, varied. So there's no one size fits all. And then another thing is that healing isn't linear. So it's not like, oh, okay, I'm good, I did this, move on. It's your child will bring up another issue that you weren't aware of, and the other day I was thinking to myself like, oh, so I have, my kids are 2 under 2, like I said, 5 and 6. And now that I'm thinking about it, now that they're 5 and 6, I was like, I was rocking 2 under 2. Like, people are like, how do you do 2 under 2? But, one of the reasons is because, the hardest thing for me was putting them in their outfits that and getting the right picture. Like that was my phase at that time. That was my way to like cope. But then when they have like they're able to articulate their feelings, and then they're growing, and then they're having more needs and like sensory issues and big emotions and stuff like that, that's where the struggle comes in. So there's no checklist where you just keep going. Things will come up at all different times.
I like to think about it as layers. So like every time you find a layer and you take it off and you're like, okay, I got over this, you just go deeper and deeper. So it gets harder and harder.
Yes, in
And
counseling we call it peel the onions. And I tell her,
yes,
come on, let's
yeah,
go guys, let's peel the onions.
yeah, and the layers get thicker and thicker because they're
Yep.
rooted in, right?
Yes, I'm there now. I'm in the middle of the onion peeling.
Mhm.
But it's a never-ending journey, right? So if you pause, and I've done this before, when things were just getting hard and I just wasn't, I was in survival mode, that means you're not ready to further your healing journey. And guess what? That's okay. So I'm here to tell you that if you're in that phase where you're in the pause mode, maybe this talk will actually push you to resume, but just be okay with it. Tell yourself it's okay. I'm not ready for it. Now I have already, I see vaguely a comment about the next thing I'm going to say. So I'm going to say that now. And that's a very important point. And thank you so much for asking this question. So yes, this is another thing about healing. You can experience positive and negative emotions at the same exact time. So you are not going insane. And bipolar is completely different, by the way, but that's for another day, because even as a counselor, I can't diagnose. Bipolar is having completely different moods and like for a set period of time. And that word is thrown around everywhere, which, I don't like that as a mental health professional when people say, oh, this weather's bipolar, or, I'm feeling bipolar. No, but bipolar is a very serious thing. This is very normal. Even someone not on their healing journey could experience this. For example, I'm just going to make this up because it's not true. So let's say you're going, I'm thinking of a random thing I did that does not trigger me. So it's made up. So I don't get emotionally reactive. So let's say I went strawberry picking, right? Strawberry picking season here was like last month. And it's such a nice memory because I'm building memories with, my kids, my friends, whatever it is. But let's say some point in my childhood, I was eating strawberries. Again, this is totally made up, but that's okay if it's real. And let's say one of my parents scolded me for, staining my shirt with strawberries, right? And I have, one second. Yep, I warned you guys. Anyways, of course, when it's serious. But anyways, let's say, my parents scolded me for doing something like, staining my shirt. And then I grew up thinking like, I can't eat strawberries. I can't make a mess. I have to be a certain way. So you can have a happy moment there, building new memories, but it's also going to trigger, memories in your upbringing. Does that make sense? Or do you need, should I?
Yeah, it reminded me actually of not my parents, but the school system, like growing up overseas, is that like many times when I'm homeschooling the kids, I'm happy because I am able to do it differently, to have I have the opportunity and the flexibility to take the time for them to learn it, like to follow the learning style. But it does bring up those memories of restriction of the school system that I went through. And I can feel that, I can feel like I'm very excited and happy, to see their journey, my kids' journey in learning, and they don't have to go through the same thing I went through. But in the meantime, I feel sad about all that frustration that I went through that I didn't have to go
Yes,
through that.
exactly. So it brings up the same emotions
Yeah.
at the same time. Yes.
No.
Okay. I'm gonna, hold on. Why is this frozen? 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to give you, if you could allow me, Miriam, to mute myself for another 4 minutes, and I'm going to give people a chance. If you're in your healing journey, I want you to type, if you're comfortable, to me or to everyone, how you heal, or if you're considering it and you're not sure what something you think might be healing for you. So I'm going to time it for 4 minutes, and Miriam, you can just monitor the chat, and I'll be right back.
Okay. You can start typing your reflections. Yeah. You can also send me direct messages if you don't want to share. I would like to know what you meant. Like what kind of trouble? So what I shared is my first step was journaling. And that could be like on your note app on your phone or on a note pad, which I started writing because when I start writing, like I'm more in control of the flow of my thoughts. And I just started writing randomly things, whatever that come in my head. And that was a good start. That helped me recognize my thoughts and not stop them before they show up to the surface.
Thank you for sharing that. We have also a second answer. I'll give you one more minute for whoever else is writing. I got in trouble for journaling. I'm so sorry to hear that. Actually, you reminded me I spent most of my teenage years journaling. That's the only way I healed actually as a teenager. It really helped me. And now I think I just have no like energy left for journaling. I tried it a bit after like I got married and then I had kids, but then I don't know what it was.
Different things.
It's just, there's a lot going on, but that really did help heal. Therapy, I wasn't going to use the word yet. Someone used it for me because I always tell everyone I highly recommend therapy. So thank you, Selma, for sharing that. What else? Not comparing my motherhood journey to others. So that is a huge thing. Because remember, also motherhood, it's not like a one size fits all, and every child is different. Every family dynamic is different. Even the same families, like I said, siblings are totally different. Even parenting them is different. Accepting the phase I'm currently in, very good. Allowing myself to feel those positive and negative emotions. So the mix of them, right? Lots of adhkar and dua. Yes. And remember that this is, exactly, this is all like motherhood is jihad. It's, it's you doing a lot more than a lot of people, do. Just being a mother on its own is a lot of work. Relationship with Allah, yes, very good. Not the pace that I'm expected to be at. So lowering your expectations for yourself or just being more realistic, good. Currently on my healing journey, great. I'm learning how to take care of myself, both physically and mentally, starting with my relationship with Allah, another great one. Journaling, hiking, very nice. No idea where to start. Is there a guide? We'll work on that. We'll see who else needs some guides. But I think figuring out the awareness phase, if you're not in the awareness phase, maybe figuring out your triggers, writing things down, taking time away from people or events that trigger me. That's very, very, very helpful. And I know it's not easy to do that because sometimes people, are always in your presence. So that's
It comes to the awareness. I realized that like taking time away from people or even like the events. So I think Adam said where to start. Okay, so every time something happens, like I come back drained and tired from events, and I always thought, oh, because I'm an introvert. And then I realized it's the kind of people, and it's not really the size of the group. It could be like 5 people, it could be 15, it could be 20. It doesn't matter, but what mattered is like the energy in the room. And every time like I come home feeling that way, I'll just go and like think about all the things that happened, and I make that connection. Okay, so all these people, these events made me feel this way. And then I notice patterns whenever I am in the same situation. Then you'll get to know like what triggers you, and then you'll get to work on why does it trigger you and how to not let it trigger you again. I have some, you're muted. You're sorry. I didn't look at your face.
So sorry.
What did you
Okay.
say?
Since I asked about guides, and then we'll get to questions because
One
this is the
sec.
last one. Go ahead.
I have some private messages.
Oh, okay, great. For healing or quick Q&A?
The healing.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So one was about same thing, like she doesn't know where to begin,
Okay.
and it has impacted my socialization, and sadly my children and husband suffer. I am perfectly okay connecting with people online and or behind the scene where I'm not seen, but out and about in person, yikes. Um, Trying to see like all the messages from the same
Okay.
person. Um,
So if that person actually could direct message you, sorry, one sec, before I lose my train of thought. That same person, can you direct message them since I don't see it here and just ask them, is that, like, I know the social aspect is affecting the kids, but how about her interaction with her husband and her kids?
well, she just said something else that
Okay.
one time she was shamed publicly about something that was supposed to be a secret, and that she just realized that she said, "Oh my God, never realized that that's what caused all this fear of socialization."
I'm sorry, can you repeat? I didn't hear.
So she said that one time, like something happened, and she was shamed publicly about something that
Saying
was supposed to
publicly.
be a secret.
Okay.
And actually, like writing that now in a chat, she realized that that's what it was causing the fear of socialization in person.
Oh, okay. See, so that's why we have these talks, because sometimes you just need someone else to talk about it. And like Mariam said, like to me even, like no one really talked to me about this, Ruba, except you. And you know,
Yeah.
not everyone wants to. And even I have trouble now with all my relationships because I want to talk about healing and being deep, and not everyone does. So it's a great first step that you acknowledged it, and I'm glad that you acknowledged it here because that means, you know, I did something beneficial, inshallah. Go ahead. You said you have another private message, or no, or that was it?
Consistently trying to strengthen my relationship with Allah and reflecting on my struggles and how I daily and how I can do better. Um, I think,
I love that a lot of you mention your connection with Allah, because honestly, when I felt despair, that's when I turned to Allah. SubhanAllah, when
yeah,
we feel at our lowest, no one else can
something,
feel that need.
yeah, something that helped one of the moms here is speaking to a trusted and educated imam about the unhealthy relationships and get the validation to see that boundaries, even with your own parents, to dissolve that religious guilt that's drilled into us.
I'm going to say something controversial if you allow me.
Go ahead.
Or no, I don't know actually. Where's
No,
oh my God.
I think that's okay. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say that yes, that's great, but just remember and listen, I grew up in the masjid, alhamdulillah, and all that. Just remember that not many, not all, many imams and religious leaders are not qualified to give mental health advice, or like they are they are a great resource in the community, don't get me wrong, but just there is a fine line, and not everyone. And I know in Texas too, you
Where
have a
you
lot of
are.
what happened.
Depends on where you are.
I know, that's what I said. In Texas, okay, you guys got your, mashallah, therapist with the imam, with the doctor, so I understand, but trust
Yeah,
me, I'm born and
it's
raised in Jersey, and I don't recommend, most of the imams, I don't say go there. But that's great that they explain that, because some people think like, I should still talk to my toxic, whatever. There's a fine line, but not everyone can give that advice. Sorry, I don't want to go on a tangent. Anything else in your private messages before I read this?
No, I just saw that Georgina, she sent a
Yeah,
message that we haven't
yeah, let
read.
me read it because let me see, don't know how to do. Don't know how to heal. That is why I'm here. I'm glad you're here then. That's the first step. My husband and I are not on the same page. He is focused on building a farm, and I am by myself night and day because he works nights 1 hour from the masjid and away from all my friends. I always say, sorry, the chat is losing his moment. I always say I'm not going to continue taking care of him, but I still do that and neglect myself. Also, my child suffers like the same on airplane. Put the mask on yourself first, then exercise. Still putting My husband, child first, but my husband is not a child. Okay, so I'm going to say thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being vulnerable. I think anyone and everyone who has been vulnerable through private messages or through the, the group chat, you're not, I'm going to say this, and please listen. You need to take care of yourself before you worry about this phase. So you're not on the same page, and listen, it's hard advice to give. There must be more to it from your own issues, right? And I'm not saying, I'm not going to give like marriage advice tonight because we're not focused on that, but you need to focus on yourself and try to heal. And that's why the first thing I say is if there's any trauma, again, this trigger warning, if there's any trauma, it's not always, there's so many different things. There could be grief, growing up. I'm talking about your own childhood, not your child. So there could be grief, there could be divorce, there could just moving, by the way, like someone who moves from house to house, that by itself is something. They even give like in the DSM, the diagnostic, they give that as like an actual disorder, like when you're adjusting, right? Adjustment disorder. There could be even like, I was reading The Whole Brain Child, and they're talking about how even another adult who's involved in your child's life could affect them, right? You could have that one auntie who says something, and then, for example, like a lot of, in the Arab and Desi culture, and I'm just speaking these two because I hear it a lot, like weight, body image, right? So it could be those aunties, even if your mom or your dad shielded you from that, you could be around someone once a week who does that. So I would say that try to focus and kind of explore what it is about you and work on yourself, because when you work on yourself, you can be better to your child. And sometimes when you work on yourself, you actually might have a better perspective, with your husband. Again, it's not going to heal, it's not going to fix everything, but that would be my short answer, due to limited time. I'm going to read this, if you don't mind, Maryam, first, so that everyone can benefit, and then I'll start, because it seems like people are getting personal, which is great, but so that we could have time, if you allow me.
Sure, go ahead.
Everyone's focused? Do I have to ask you guys about like favorite foods?
No, I'm sure they're focused.
They're good. Okay. So here's another thing. So I said start reflecting on your past, even if it's just writing it. Professional help, I didn't use the therapy word here in the PowerPoint to not like scare anyone off, but that is what has been helping me. I decided to go back. Alhamdulillah, I performed Umrah in November, and one of my goals, I accomplished, and I'll share this with you guys to show you that we don't do it all, but I had 3 top goals, and one of them was go back to therapy. Another one was to finally read adult books, which if you guys know me on Instagram, especially, I'm like a children's book fanatic, and then go to the gym. And I have to say, I have not entered the gym. Okay, I tried it once in the past 6 months, but we're working on it. So the healing has been helping me, and reading adult books, because reading the books also helps with my healing. Whether it's parenting books or books on, like one of the books I read, it was about boundaries, and I struggled with that. So start somewhere. Okay, there are many, many ways, I promise. It's just when you're ready. So I can't tell you to start. I can't give you a guide because some people are just not ready. That's what it is. Okay, so here's another thing. I want to validate all of your past and present feelings. It is very, very important. In order to move on, you need to start with the past feelings, right? I felt this way as a child. That is okay. Whether I was silenced, like you guys have mentioned, abandoned, not loved, restricted, any of that stuff. Remember that the feelings you feel are always okay and present. So I always tell people, even when people are in an argument and they want to tell me 2 sides, I'm like, they felt that way. I don't care how ridiculous you think it is. A feeling is a feeling. That's a red line. I don't care what. Okay, they felt for this thing that seems petty to you. Whatever feeling happened from this experience is valid. So remember that for yourself, because if you're not going to validate your own feelings, you will not validate your husband's feelings or his, like, for example, his idea of the farm. You're not going to hear it. If you're not hearing yourself and taking care of that, you're going to be like, I don't want to hear about your farm. I don't want to hear about your this. And your child, same thing. I don't want to hear you're crying. Why? Because you're not allowing your own sadness, your own feelings to be validated. Am I going too quickly?
No. I think
okay. How are we doing time? Okay, great. We still have time. All right, reparent yourself. This is the biggest thing I've been working on. Reparenting yourself. And I know that this will stir up some family issues, because a lot of you are either, alhamdulillah, I mean, if you're in a healthy relationship with your parents now, you know, it's great to have them around as grandparents, for example. And some people, unfortunately, it's not. And the solution is do not be near them. So I'm not telling you to be around like abusive, you know, parents. But you have to acknowledge that not everything they did as a parent was right. You have to acknowledge it, you know, and I've had conversations, you know, with my mom at some point, you know, and it's not easy and you don't have to have it. And I'm not saying like talk about it because not everyone does, but there are certain things that, you know, we have to reparent because it is affecting us now as moms, as parents. And don't be afraid to start from scratch. For those of you who had completely, everything was like, you know, unhappy or negligent or abusive or any of that, the only way to do it is just burn the book and start over. Don't tell me, no, you're going to fix it. Some things are not fixable. Start over completely, start from scratch, from zero, like building a foundation, right? Because if there's a house that got burnt down, right, and you're trying to build it, sometimes the only way is to completely knock it down. I'm not a, you know, construction worker, architect, but, you know, just to give you a visual image, start from scratch. Do not feel any guilt for that. Validate that feeling that I did not have the ideal like childhood or the ideal upbringing or X, Y, and Z was wrong. I'm going to fix it to be a better parent, right? Because we're going to break the cycle. That's the goal. Okay. And then let me just read the last one. So, because I see a lot of questions. Speak to your inner child. And this one is, I'm going to say trigger warning, because there's something that someone has suggested to me and I still haven't done it. And it said like, and she had told me like, oh, I saw this thing. And it's usually Instagram now. It's like the new like Google research. Not everything, by the way, is good on Instagram because consuming content is draining. But she, like the woman had said, I don't know if she's a mental health professional, so I can't say, but she had said, write a letter to your inner child. And we've done, like, they've taught us that, you know, counseling, like things where it's, you know, write, reflect. If you can't talk to like a parent, write a letter to them, for example. So speak to your inner child and say things like, some people need affirmations. You are safe now. You are loved now. You don't have to, you know, you're not in that environment anymore. And love your inner child, because some of you said like you weren't loved unconditionally. It's not too late. And like I say, like it's never too late to live a happy childhood. You can have those memories that, yes, they might bring up bad things like that strawberry example I gave you, but it also will be, you know, you can live, not live vicariously through your children, but you can live a happy childhood now if you didn't live it before. So that's just, I think, my spiel. I think I'm done. I hope that wasn't too much information or too
I
draining.
just want to mention EFT, like emotional focus therapy. I've watched videos on YouTube when people like do it like a guided session, and it does include a lot into the inner child. So whoever like is ready to do that, you can do it. And like I can't really recommend any because I didn't find anyone from like a Muslim perspective, but it's basic things. You can just browse it on YouTube and see what you can find.
I think Medium has something to say. Another Medium. I'm sorry, I don't know. I can't see who's who. Because there's a mic that's unmuted. So maybe someone wants to, we didn't give a chance to for anyone to speak live like you usually do.
Yeah.
Medium M.
No, she muted herself. I think it was just.
Actually, can we pause and give a chance to someone who wants to speak live, if that's possible? Does anyone want to ask or say something live before I read through questions? Let's give them a minute. Iman, I think you're unmuted. Do you want to say something?
I remembered something that I just want to mention because it's more positive, but it could have like, I don't want to say negative, but it could affect the parenting, which for me was growing up, I was like always pushed to be independent and getting things done, and which was good, which I loved so much. And I had like pretty much surrounded childhood, alhamdulillah. But now I see that when I'm like a little too independent and like an incident that happened, if with my children, like I would probably not ask them for help or not ask them to be involved because I can just get it done by myself. And that's not like something that's negative, but it's also, I realize that it's something from my childhood. An incident that made me realize that what was with my husband when I did something without asking him, and he was like, "How come you didn't ask me?" And I'm like, "I don't know. How come I didn't ask you? I didn't even know what happened." And then when I started like thinking back, like, why didn't I ask? Like, how did I just go ahead and make a decision like this? And then I realized, like, I start realizing and noticing that I do it with my children as well. So something like that was positive that I was proud of. It was imbalanced, kind of like I can't. It's affecting me somehow. So I just have to play with it until I find like the sweet spot.
Yes, so not necessarily everything is necessarily like, oh, you had an unhappy or toxic or any kind of childhood, but just the way that you were raised, right, by your own parents will affect it. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't read from here, but someone had written, my first step was to first journal the good in my life and acknowledge I have so many blessings. And that's something actually when you're experiencing, and again, if you you need to seek professional help if you're experiencing, you know, severe issues like depression or anxiety, but sometimes when you're in that hole, you can't see any good, even if you have everything good around you. It's draining and it weighs you down. And there's a lot of controversy regarding regarding, I'm so sorry, regarding the, yep, I know this would help. Anyways, regarding the, see, I lost my train of thought, but I was saying that there's controversy regarding like people say, oh, if you're strong Muslim, you can't be depressed like that, you know, and there have been, alhamdulillah, you know, leaders now like disputing those claims and saying like this is completely valid and, you know, there's a way, and one way to get out of it could be like trying to acknowledge the blessings and writing them down. I love that idea. And see, you see the trials in a different light, right? And لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. So you are only given what you can handle. Even as mothers, we all have different children. And sometimes I look at my friends or, you know, people I know and I say, you know, I could never have that kind of child, or it just wouldn't work for me, or someone couldn't have like my children for this thing. So subhanAllah, like Allah is the all-wise and Allah gives us, you know, what we can handle, whether it was growing up a certain way and there's, you know, there's a hikmah behind it. And obviously if you're in the midst of something, like I said, toxic, abusive, or any of that, I don't recommend, you know, do not stay in such environment. But, you know, they say the most compassionate people are those who went through the biggest trials. So it's nice that you found that way to see your trials in a different light. I have a personal question here, a direct message. Let me see. How do you begin to heal? So this is a big, it seems like a repeated question. And how do you know if there are triggers? Trauma. Oh, like trauma triggers?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you this, like, how do you know something is trauma?
I'm so sorry. Can you? Yeah, I'm sorry. I need a minute. So can you check the other answers and see if anyone has? If you could just give me a couple minutes, I'll be back.
No problem. Right. How do you balance between cutting off energy suckers and having to tie kinship and family? Yeah, so she said I blocked them all on social platforms, but my kin are all across continents, so this is easy to attain. Yeah, that's the same for me. I mean, I did not have to cut like family, but it was close people, very, very close people that I chose to cut off, and I didn't. It's not something that I normally do, but it got to a point when I was like, in order to move forward, I need to cut off these people, and I did. However, for family, I think the hardest part, if they're far away, if they're like across the country or different overseas, then phone is good, messages on Eid, on Jumu'ah, like every other Jumu'ah or something like that. You can, alhamdulillah, we have like WhatsApp and you can just text people. You don't have to get into details with them. If they're very close and there are so many events and you have to see them every weekend, and I guess you can, it's the boundaries, and that's when you're gonna start like practicing some boundaries and like pulling away little by little to the point where you just say, Salam alaikum, how are you doing? How is life and all that? And you don't share as much. That's how I would do it, but I don't know if Ruba heard me.
I didn't. I'm so sorry. And you know already my attention span is off the roof because I have one child awake.
The question is, how do you balance between cutting off that energy suckers and having to tie kinship and family?
Okay. I'm sure I'm going to trust your judgment on this because, mashallah, you have a lot of wisdom, even, So, because I have, we're tight on time and I have a lot, it seems, of direct messages.
Okay.
So if you could just, guys, don't leave yet, okay? Because I want to try to answer everyone's questions.
Do you want to tell me, remind me of the title for the Boundaries book that you read?
That was back in January, was it? Reading piece. Oh my God, I forgot. Give me like a second. That's a good one for boundaries, if that's the question that was asked.
Yes.
Checking my, just set boundaries, find peace. That was nice. That was a nice one. It felt like she was talking to you. Okay, so someone had asked, I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to interrupt, direct message, so good thing I didn't say the name accidentally. How do you begin to heal and how do you know if there are triggers? If you notice something, triggers are usually like, something that happens that sets you off. But I've noticed though that some people parent and they it's like they don't acknowledge their triggers, but the way they parent is very unconventional, like a specific thing they do. So if you notice something that is very unconventional, I'm not saying like, oh, if you homeschool and no one homeschools around you, or if you feel a certain way about nutrition, it's if there's something that you feel that's repeatedly, like physically or emotionally, like you're reacting, that would be like a trigger. Trauma, you're gonna have to dig through your own childhood trauma, and the best way to heal with trauma, like I said, is professional help. I know it's hard and not everyone wants to do it, but it's so much easier and it's such a relief to talk to a third party. Trust me, like, this is not a sponsored thing, but I highly, highly recommend anyone and everyone do it. Yes.
I want to mention BetterHelp, which is very convenient for moms because you can do like phone calls or videos or just chat like online. You don't have to go anywhere. You can find Muslim therapists in there.
Oh, okay.
Therapist, and you can choose a local one. You can like hop, and they also take insurance and other things.
Really? Okay, I've never heard of that. Okay, great. Okay, another one. How do you balance between cutting? Oh, we said that. Great. And then I block them all on social media when kin are across continent. Yeah, across continent, say alhamdulillah, because that's a blessing. If you have toxic family members, honestly. Can you recommend some therapists as a direct message? Unfortunately, it's really, 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 really hard to find like a Muslim female, if that's what people like. I personally don't do that. I don't go to a Muslim. But I would say that if you have like insurance, I would recommend going through there with your comfort level. Everyone has different comfort levels, kind of like when you go to deliver, some people prefer Muslim, some people don't, some prefer male, some don't. So check your comfort level and then check your insurance, and then you'll be able to find like Muslim therapist if you pay out of pocket.
And I'm sharing Ruh Care, which it's a Muslim therapist directory, and they have the Ruh app as well that has a lot of mindfulness and from therapists, and it's amazing. It's free. You can download it.
Really?
And Ruh Care is the directory, and they're working for more things as well.
Yes, that's great. Thank you. I need to keep that. Okay, here's another direct message. Can you need reparenting from an adult experience? I assume that means you are still, actively in touch with your parents and they are parenting you in a way that could be either toxic or unhealthy or whatever. Yes, that's actually even harder. Some people live, everyone has different family dynamics, and some people like live with their parents and have their kids. And I've heard that, where it's very, very hard to parent your own children differently than your own parents. And I'm really sorry. That's much harder to reparent and do your own thing when you are still with those same parents. If that's what you mean, you can need it. Unfortunately, you're going to have to find a healthy distance, even if you're on the same home. And my heart goes out to single moms, because a lot of them, after they separate, they tend to, culturally also go back to their parents' house, and then they have to kind of besides dealing with the, the divorce and all of that, they have to deal with parenting, and it wasn't always, it's not always a happy situation. So you might need to reparent, unfortunately, yeah, from an adult experience. Hold on, I see, oh wow, a lot of new messages. I think I need to make this bigger because it's getting, oh no. I'm gonna close stop sharing my screen. Is that, everyone get my IG handle? That's where you'll find me for, yes, okay. So let me get back here and let me read the chats. This is gonna be easier for me, inshallah. Gallery, no, oh, I see, okay. Type, let's go here, next. Can you explain how, okay, here we go. How to relive your childhood when you're unsure how it's supposed to look like? Maybe walk us through a day. Relive as in kind of where I said it's too late to have a happy childhood. Do you think, Miriam, that's what they mean? Like what should a healthy, maybe that's what it is. What should a healthy childhood look like, maybe?
Yeah, what does it supposed to feel like? Because if you didn't live it, you wouldn't know. So you wouldn't give to your child. Okay, okay, that's kind of tricky because I can't like walk you through a day per se, but I would say, for example, things that, okay, like if you look at them like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like some people didn't experience the basic need, which is safety, right? Because even those who, let's say, don't have families, don't trying to avoid sensitive topics because, minors here, but, some people didn't live with safety, right? And you might already now as a parent, you already passed that. Like, that's why I said affirmations help. Like you are now safe. Some people are uncomfortable because they grew up with family dysfunction when they're in a functional home. And this is why, marriages in the beginning, for those of you who are married, like the first year is very tough because you're going from one environment to another. Inshallah, ideally, you're going into a healthy marriage. Like I said, if it's not, then that's a different thing and you should seek professional help. But that's the same thing for your child. You already are there. So things that, it's hard to say. It's not like there's no like litmus test, but I can tell something with safety. Like you can tell when the things that make your child feel unsafe from their facial expression. So when you yell at them, when you shame them, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old can give you a direct facial expression when something is tricky, like they're not feeling safe. And if you just notice that, if you pay attention to that, not like being when when conflicts happens and I'll be like, oh, they're wrong, my child is wrong, like how could they do this? But instead, like just noticing your reaction and their reaction, and then you can tell if it's too much or not. And like it's helping them feel safe to come to you when something bad happens.
Yeah, and it's 11, but I'm going to keep going because I can't leave people like this. So if you have to go, I totally understand. Thank you, but stick around if you can. And I wanted to say, actually, that question is how can you relive it is heal yourself, honestly. You know what I mean? Because you have to heal in order to feel like to get somewhere, right? So you want to show progress, focus on yourself and your healing, and that's how you're going to be the best mom, inshallah. Okay, now I have another direct message. So we're getting more messages. Is avoidance a form of healing? That's been my approach. So avoidance would be more of what they call like a negative coping mechanism. So it's like you are coping and you're doing something, but it's not the best something. Okay, that's kind of like, right? So for people who cry a lot, it is a coping mechanism because it's cathartic and it helps, but it's negative in the sense that that's not going to solve all your problems if it's your consistent, plan of action.
Depends on the people. Some people you can avoid because you don't see them all the time, or like you don't depend on them on a lot of things. Like a relative, you can just avoid them. But when you're talking about children, husband, no. Yeah, it's gonna bottle up and then one day you'll explode.
I'm an avoider. I'm telling you from my own. I'm not perfect. I'm talking about this stuff and I'm telling you, don't do it. It doesn't help. You're gonna get nowhere. So inshallah we all find better approaches. Okay, some of the chats are from you. That's good. It seems like someone sent a link. Do you mind? It seems people are sending links. Do you know why?
When we were talking about recommendations of finding therapies.
Oh, okay, amazing. Thank you guys. See, you guys are like ahead of the game. So these, how are they going to be saved, Miriam? You're gonna
I can, so you'll find the recording in the Muslim Homeschool app and you'll find the documents with the chat and all the resources. Sometimes I just copy the resources and I put them there.
Okay, great. Okay, Maram is my friend and she's a great therapist. Thank you, Sahar. That's awesome. Now I'm curious to see anyone who's Sahar recognized. Hala Banani, I've heard of her. Just marriage. Yeah.
I already checked.
Sharmeen, I've heard of Hala. She has a marriage course. I think I have that. Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
that.
we talked about her once.
Okay, yeah. So she's good. Okay, so any final questions?
The recording, you can find it in the Muslim Homeschool app. So you can go to the App Store and download Muslim Homeschool, and you'll find the Homeschool Mom Halaqa. It's for free. Just sign in, log in, and then you'll find the previous recording that we did all this year and this one as well, inshallah. So give me 48 hours, and inshallah the recording will be live. I usually send an email as well saying that the recording, the replay is live as well.
And everyone here you have their emails anyways, right?
Yes.
Okay, and like I said, so Maryam has her cool fancy app. I'm not there yet, but I, for the last time, added my IG handle. Message me. I love to chat with you guys, actually. Even though I'm on creating content, making like videos and, you know, posting stories, I love chatting with you kind of personally and getting to know you. So feel free to add me there. And if you are a mom and you do like children's books, I'm going to throw in my elevator pitch quickly. You should purchase my self-published book. Alhamdulillah, it has many 5-star reviews, called The Coolest Career. You could find it on my website, readingwithruba.com, and alhamdulillah, a few bookstores have it stocked as well, including Crescent Moon Bookstore, who ships worldwide. And yeah, I would love to find you, I guess, on Instagram and chat. Just like, beautiful names. Thank you so much. وإياكم. Alhamdulillah. Ameen. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll leave like a minute for any final remarks, and then Maryam, if you have anything you need to add, or you can give me anything I need to say, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that her book is about a children's adventure, but also highlights emotions, which I love a lot. Like everything emotions, we go to Ruba like in our little circle. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so this was a very, very good halaqa, mashallah. I can see that everybody benefited and took something with them. And inshallah, we can do many more. If I know like you're focused on more motherhood content as well. So yes, go to her Instagram, follow her, and then inshallah you'll find like more reminders on how to do this healing journey gracefully. Because it's not always like go, 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 go. Sometimes like just take a break. It's okay to feel both emotions. And this is like, I think that's the statement that I hear from you all the time, like that keeps ringing in my head is you can feel positive and negative emotions at the same time, and do not compare your feelings to others. So sometimes, you know, when you're like, oh, I'm stressed about this and this and that, and look at these people, they're stressed about so many worse things. How can I even like, why am I even like mad about this? And she's like, no, everybody like validate your own feelings, because everybody is in a different walk of life, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you what you can handle. So be grateful for what you got, and also work through it. Like validate,
Yes.
Being grateful for what Allah gave you is validation.
I always do that with you. I'm glad you said it. You remembered. You're welcome. Sahab said it's a warm halaqa, and warmth that was my goal, so I appreciate it. Georgina, jazakallah khair for reminding us about recognizing blessings. Wa iyyakum, alhamdulillah.
So yes, so the ending will be for the people, because also I didn't start recording in the beginning. So for the people who are going to watch the replay and miss the presentation, this is a monthly halaqa that we do for the homeschooling mom specifically. So every month I host a different guest who is usually a homeschooling mom that has an expertise in a topic, just like Ruba today. Last month was about ADHD, and next month, inshallah, it will be more towards parenting. We're gonna host a parenting coach, inshallah. So be on the lookout. every second Tuesday of the month at 9 p.m. Central Texas time.
Yeah,
And
New York time.
and then yeah, so I am Miriam and I am a homeschooling coach, and I have the Muslim Homeschool app as a free resource that has multiple resources. Also on my Instagram handle is Grow Those Little Hands. I'm gonna write it here. If you are new to this place, okay, so Grow Those Little Hands, and you'll find content about homeschooling and how to do it again gracefully.
Very
Um,
gratefully.
yeah, Alhamdulillah. Did we have part two of the ADHD talk? Not yet. We just did it last month. So inshallah, we'll figure out another time when we can do it. Maybe it's gonna be during like October or something like that, when everybody settles down, inshallah.
And thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. It brought me back to my academic vibe,
Yay.
which I
It's
like.
about time.
It gives me more. I'm more motivated to do more. But you guys reach out to me on Instagram. Tell me what more you want from me and from my page and from my,
Yes.
profile. Inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. All right. Salam alaikum, everyone. I want to read Surah Al-Asr
I
before
was
we
gonna say
leave.
that. Wallahi.
Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق الله العظيم. جزاك الله خيرا all for being here, and I'll see you inshallah next month. Assalamu alaikum.